What's up, everyone? Welcome to Every Week We Follow, an Aston Villa fan channel. Gary, are you in a chanting mood?
Every week we follow the boys in claret and blue.
He loves it.
It took a while. I had to muster that up, if I'm honest, because even though it's 3 points in the bag, I'm still. I don't know. I don't feel great.
Okay. Well, let's talk about. Obviously, this is a preview to Leicester. A review to Leicester. This is probably going to be titled something around like Bailey finally scores, or something around is Watkins good enough? Probably the latter. So I think that's the main thing we should probably talk about. I mean, first off, Leicester though, lineup thoughts. Obviously, enforced changes. We had Mings alongside Konsa, which you were asking for, and then obviously Bailey still starting on the right, and Barkley having to come in because Rodgers was out. So and Onana's still not fully fit. So thoughts on the lineup when it came out?
So I was intrigued about Barkley starting, but I guess it kind of made sense with McGinn being injured.
Yes.
I was happy that Mings started. Obviously, I thought this was a chance to keep a clean sheet. Obviously, we didn't do it again. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't at the game because my daughter was playing. So I was gutted to miss it. But I'm only going off what I've seen on highlights, match of the day, and I've watched the highlights back, and they're never quite the same as being there live, are they? And what I've read about, I think Mings will always be a target for some people. I don't necessarily think he was at fault for the goal. I think I'm going to come back to Watkins with a terrible pass that started the initial move.
Yeah.
But you defend from the front, but people are quick to jump on both of these. And it's not that I want to be put them in the firing line and start having a go at this, because I think we have to start up front going, actually, I love this team. Do you know what I mean? I love the Villa, and it's not about trying to have a go at people. It's about what the expectation is on a pro footballer and what you should be doing, and what makes you a good side and a great side, and what we're trying to aim for, and what the board has been selling us for the last 2 or 3 years about where we want to be. Because these mistakes and goals, yes, we got 3 points, and people will go, it's 3 points in the bag. Don't worry about conceding another goal. But how are we supposed to get to the next level if we don't stop conceding goals? It makes the game very nervy and edgy, and it just puts us under unnecessary pressure. We've got to start eradicating these mistakes. And I don't know. I would like, so going back to the Mings thing, I'd just like to see him and Konsa being given a run of games together now. I don't know whether that will happen, whether he's going to change it around.
I think they're gonna, because Torres is out for 2 months, something like that now. I think.
Yeah, he's definitely broken.
Mings will get a run in the team. It's whether he chooses to put Carlos in or not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think it was Konsa or Mings who was at fault for their goal. It was a good save for Martinez.
Are you saying it's Watkins?
No, I'm not saying it's Watkins. I'm saying it was. I was actually quite surprised at how. He tried his best, and also it's one of those ones that goes through like a couple of legs. But I actually thought Cash could have got like a bit quicker, just out to him to try and block the shot. But to be honest, I think it's just one of those.
I think the value point there is if you were to go back over all the goals we've conceded, it's exactly that. It's just not. We seem at times when defending just that half a yard off, or that half a second of making the right decision away from not conceding the goal. So it's someone not closing the ball down, someone not being in the right position, slightly out of position. And these are all things that you can change. These things we didn't do last year. Do you remember that photo? I think it was against Luton in the Premier League, where you had the back four, the high line. It was perfectly straight in sync, and there was big talk about that, about the level of defending, and yes, it was risky defending, but ultimately everyone was in the right position. And I just think with the changes that we keep continuing to make in the back four, it has a knock-on effect to the rest of the team. So everyone seems to be out of position at the vital time. So like you said there, with Cash maybe could have responded a little bit quicker. And then people jump on the back, Cash is crap, he's not, but he's easily our best option we've got. I don't see that. I think that criticism is harsh on Cash, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's
No,
my busy mate. So
I like Matt. I like Matty Cash. I think
yeah,
I actually think he's one of those rare defenders that we've had that's actually pretty good going forward, as well
yeah,
as decent defensively. Usually, you have someone who's terrible going forward and is brilliant at right back. So, well,
yeah,
even
yeah.
Consu isn't even great at right back, but a
He's
good
terrible at
defender.
right back.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but he's a good
But he
defender,
could,
but he can't attack for beans. So
no, no.
at least Cash has got that in his locker. I actually quite like Cash sometimes when he plays in right midfield as well. But
I think he really brings something to the team. I think he balances our team out really well. That's my opinion on Cash.
yeah,
But
no, I agree. I agree. But yeah, I mean, their goal was frustrating. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was building a TV unit at the same time as watching this game as well, and the first half sounded and looked turgid. It was bad, and I
yeah,
think part of that though was Leicester parking the bus. I
yes.
think Leicester were
Well,
like, we are not conceding. Like
mm,
that's all they were aiming for. And as soon as we scored, then they were like, oh, let's try and attack. And then they attacked,
the
and
game
that's
opened up.
what's frustrating.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's what's frustrating about it. I think there was something I read or saw that I think it was like 9 games or something like that where the opposition has scored from their first shot,
Yeah. Wow,
which is
that's an interesting.
mental.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm
That's
just like,
crazy.
so there's something going on that's not right. Like it shouldn't be that if a team's attacking, it looks like they're going to score every time they attack. So against your own defense, like it's quite worrying. But I think you're right. A consistent back four. I'm hoping that this kind of forced change is going to have that happen. I can't see is it Swinkles whatever come in at a centre back or anything, and I don't know how long Carlos is out for. I don't know if it was an
Well,
injury or illness or what.
it will be interesting now to see what happens on Friday in the West Ham game, what the starting line will be, because it's a cup game, obviously, and whether
Yeah,
he keeps a bit of momentum and just keeps aside and tries, or does he make changes again? And bring in a few of the youngsters, give maybe Buendia some minutes and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of gets mixed up on
yeah.
Friday.
I actually thought
Um,
Buendia looked all right when he came on. By the way,
yeah, again, Mr. Sitter, didn't he? But who's judging? Who am I to judge? Right.
look, the whole team misses sitters by the looks of it. I mean, I don't know if you
I only saw
saw.
the highlights, so I can't comment on terms of
I
I
don't know
didn't
if you
see.
saw Harry Maguire yesterday, but that was the
Oh, I did.
greatest miss I've ever seen.
Mate, it was the
That
greatest
was
finish by a centre half you ever did see. He come off his knee, I think, when he was trying to hit it.
absolutely
Unreal.
fantastic.
No, but going back to the first half performance, like I think obviously Leicester didn't want to lose 5 in a row. It was kind of as many teams have against us recently and I guess that's a compliment to us because lots of teams have come to Villa Park and done just that, parked the bus, and we struggle to break them down because we the tempo to our games is poor, and I think that's what happened in the first half. Against teams that park the bus, you have to move the ball quickly, and we have not been doing that well for weeks. So
Yeah, I agree. We
it
did
was
it. We
always
did against
it
City,
was
and that was
yeah, but they give you a bit more space, don't they? They try and attack you, so you've got and that's the difference in the two teams. But when you've got 9 men behind the ball, doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to struggle to be. But your tempo of your game needs to be quicker because you have to move people out of position. It has to happen really quickly. That's high. A lot of it's high risk football because if you make a mistake, obviously you're prone to a counter attack. And I think we sit on the fence of not wanting to take that risk, but it's costing us anyway because we're conceding goals for fun.
yeah, yeah,
Again, Leicester are crap, and look, they've still scored against us. Like
yeah.
it's not.
I think
It's becoming a concern for me.
the conceding goals thing is a big issue, and I think it's one that we've talked about and we've said like a consistent back line. Is it all becoming too complex? Are we playing the high? Does the high line need to be as high as it is? Do we? Is it better
Yeah,
if we play a back three rather than a back four? There's a variety of different things. And
yeah,
we've always said, and like we said last time, we said if you're conceding every game, you've got to score 2 goals. Now
yeah,
we can score going forward, but just coming on to the Watkins Duran thing, and you were just talking about not having the space or not having the time to get in, or teams parking the bus. Do you
yeah.
think Duran performs well against a team that does that though?
I just, I think he does better than Ollie. I think he's a nuisance and he puts himself about a bit, and he doesn't. It's weird how different their movement is on and
Yeah.
off the ball. Do you know what I mean? And I think people are more weary of Duran this season because if you do give him an out of space, he puts the ball in the back of the net. He's just been consistent, hasn't he? So I think he offers a different threat. Like Watkins, okay. Watkins is a great player. Like he really is. I can't fault the work rate off the ball, getting into the certain positions. He does cause defence problems, and he probably helps create more space off the ball than Duran ever will. But in those moments of tight games where you've got one pass on, like him receiving the ball in those tight areas, he scores. Do you know what I mean? It's an opportunity and scored. And Watkins just, I don't know, he spends all that time running. Maybe he loses concentration when the ball comes to him. And the one thing he has to do is put the ball in the back of the net because that's 2 games in a row, mate. I know they've been on his left foot, more or less similar positions, 12 yards out, bit closer this time, left foot.
One.
And mate, I can't.
That one against Leicester, that one against Leicester was really bad. I think I was looking at that, I was like, mate, you've got to score that. That's really, really bad.
Mate, let's be nice to him. Right, just hit the target. Like, make the keeper make a save. Like, if you don't score from there, fine, but it shouldn't be hitting Rose Ed. Like, not from that distance out. Like, he's unchallenged. It's just get over the ball and smash it at the goal. Like,
I think he was. I think he. I don't. It's always hard to know what the manager's actually telling players to do versus what they're actually doing on the pitch. But against Leicester, Watkins was running the channels a lot, so he was constantly picking the ball up out wide, which is kind of Watkins of old, rather than Watkins now, where he would stay in the central pocket and pick up a position or like try and. I mean, he had that chance very early on, didn't he? Which was a good block from Cody.
But that's good defending. I'm not criticising for that. Right place, right time, gets his shot away. It's good defending. That's fine. That's what you expect. But it's interesting because if you go back to Watkins of old, like running the channels, and when Emery first came in, like it was a big thing. Was it specifically? I want you to, your target area is between the 18-yard line. Like I don't want you out wide. We've got people that are doing it, and all of a sudden, like he's banging goals in for fun. He's in the right place at the right time. And then, like say, Watkins, is it a default mode that you do it? You go, I'm comfortable out there, so you just. And
this is the only thing I think of is that he's trying too hard because his confidence is low. So he's trying to get on the ball and affect things in other areas. And that's why
again in his defence, because I don't want to always constantly sag him down, but like, is it a case of we're not being effective in wide areas recently? Bailey's been terrible. I know he scored on Saturday, but still he didn't have a great game from what I've read and what I saw in the highlights. Like he was very ineffective again. And again in his defence, I think they doubled up on him, particularly in the first half. I think he had 2 players
after the goal he hit the post. He actually he scored his goal and then he runs through him, like he bangs the post. I was like, fuck, Leon Bailey's back. Like
confidence is preference. Goals change games, don't they? They breed confidence, they do. And that's so, but again, you're talking about a 5-minute, 10-minute spell in a game of more or less 90 minutes. Like this is you get away with that if you want to be a middle of the table side. Like I come back to, we're trying to push on to qualifying for European places. Mate, that battle for this season the results didn't go for us either. So we are fighting our ass off. We cannot drop points. We've got to be beating teams comfortably like Leicester. And it wasn't comfortable in the end. It was a good win, 3 points in the bag, but that wasn't a comfortable win. Like I predicted 4-0 because I really thought so. But
it was scruffy. It was but I mean it's good at the moment. I don't care how we get the wins.
No, well, mate.
I'm just like
now it's performance mode, mate. I don't care out the window. Just get the results. Like it is literally because like we talked about in the last show, like qualifying for Europe is a must if we're pushing on. It has to be like that 6th place, like 6th, 7th place. So I know you said Europa League, and that's what I'd love, but it has to be priority. It has to be because otherwise we lose money, end up losing players, and we're going to be in no man's land again.
Yeah, we're going to be in limbo. I think it is difficult because if last season wasn't as good as it was, right?
Yeah,
and I know that's a hard thing to try and imagine and work out. If it wasn't as good as it was last season, we'd kind of be sitting here now going, "Well, we're in touching distance. We're in the fight. Like we're there, right?" So it's frustrating. It's not frustrating, but we've set this expectation quite high, and we know what we can do, and that's I think that's what's frustrating about it is that like because fourth just we're not going to get 4th, 5th and 6th I still think is very achievable, and we haven't really been hitting second or third gear, and we're still in it. And we've got Everton next in the league, and it's like all of a sudden you're suddenly then going, right, okay, well, we're 7th, 6th, and we're knocking on the door, and we're there or thereabouts, as
Well, 100%.
Steve Bruce used to say.
I've got a slightly different taking, because I agree with everything you've just said. Right, I do. I said, but this is my issue. My issue lies within what the board and the owners are saying and wanting. So this season we've been promoted as a Champions League club. Right, prices have gone up. Corporate thing.
I
Right,
agree with that, yeah.
it's all kind of going towards, like, this great history and kind of, this is where we belong and all that kind of jazz. Well, that's fine. If you're going to market us as a Champions League club, you better be willing to make sure that we qualify for the Champions League on a regular basis. So as good as last season was, we've been nowhere near as good as that. And so we haven't invested in the squad as much as we could have done and should have done. And I know that's not their fault. That's FFP and PSR and all that nonsense, right? And so we're restricted, and I don't think they expected that. So all of a sudden, we're charging Champions League prices. We're rinsing fans out of their good hard-earned cash, and the results have not been the same. So while we're not, like you said, we're in touching distance, and if we beat Everton, right, and results go for us, right back in the mix, right? But it's all about consistency now, like year in, year out. I'm not talking. It's about building something. So, and I think we've been unlucky in the fact that, let's face it, Champions League football puts a hell of a lot of pressure on a squad of our size. Like it happened to Newcastle, and now if you look at the teams that are doing well around us, they've got no European things going on. It's just we're focusing on the league. Your squad's a lot fresher. There's less fixtures, right? So that teams, 3 or 4 teams are performing way above their means. Bournemouth, Forest, what's the other one? Brighton, right? They're still there and thereabouts, right? These are teams that probably will ultimately drift off as the season goes on, because and if they don't and they have exceptional seasons, again, that they'll struggle next year massively, because they're not going to have the budgets. They'll be in the same position. So it's just one of those things where we're having a bit of an anomaly of a season. Of course, Man City are going to be they're coming back.
There's Chelsea up there still who are kind of fighting around.
So you've got 8 teams gunning for 6 places, really. So
it's going to be I mean, this next month is going to be really, really important, because we're going to have to balance it with, we've now got an FA Cup which has started. We've got Champions League games which are also going to be coming. At least if we do manage to get top 8 in that, we lose some of the fixtures that we would have had in Feb. We've got players we've got a couple of players out now, and you're just hoping there's also no more injuries, if I'm honest.
We've got to get lucky with injuries, haven't we? Because, like you say, we've got ultimately part of the spine of our team missing now in McGinn and Torres. I don't know. I know McGinn's probably going to be a bit shorter, but Torres is out for 2 months, so March.
Yeah.
By the time he's back,
we were saying that we probably want to try Mings and Concert at centre back anyway, to try and steady that ship. To have really, so I would happily take 6 1-0s and just have clean sheet, nick a goal. Happy with that. Absolutely happy.
Right, that's what I hope happens. I mean, but like say, God forbid, if let's say if Mings or Konza gets injured, right, we're then down to Carlos, and Carlos is injury prone. He was last season. Like we're suddenly very thin on the ground, aren't we?
I wouldn't be surprised if we do look at a bit of an emergency loan centre backup with Torres out for 2 months, because he's also then going to come back and he's going to have to get up to fitness and stuff. So realistically, he's not really back till like mid-March.
100%. And also, I did read I read yesterday, I think it was, that Costa and Djokovic is probably going to be going out on loan this month. We're looking at a right-sided.
Well, if that's happening, then
another right-sided third player.
We have to bring in a new. For that to happen, we have to bring in a right back.
Yeah, but what? But we
have to.
Well, we have to, but why do he's not playing him? Like whenever Cash has been out, he's playing Konza. So I'd understand if that was the case. If Cash is injured and Djokovic has been playing, but that's not been the case. He's not. So I know, but we still you want it for squad depth, but is it going to be someone that's actually going to come in and make a difference to the team and actually put pressure on Cash, or is it just a case of squad numbers? Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately, we need, if we're going to do any January signs, we need something that's going to give us a lift, something that's going to actually
Well,
drive us forward.
that's where this Marlon kind of comes into it, right? Is that he's a pacey right winger, can also play up front kind of level. So he's more like a Diaby. He's more of a replacement for Diaby. It looks like Philogene is going out on loan, which would make sense because it would allow us to bring this player in. But yeah, we don't know. We never know on that until it actually happens. So
well, we don't. But
and
also previously,
on a slightly different note, from what I've read, there are talks, or at least there's been a meeting with PSG over Duran for Muani, which seems a bit mental. I'm guessing it's just talks, because I'm guessing it's like PSG were like, just hear us out, like we want to talk to you, blah blah blah, and we've gone, okay, we'll talk from a business sense. But at the end of the day, I think Emery has to say yes. I don't think it's a case of like, we have to do this as a club, and then Emery just goes, okay. Like, I mean, Muani is a top player, but Duran is literally one of the most informed strikers out there in terms of minutes.
I think getting rid of Duran would be a massive mistake.
I
think
huge mistake.
Apart from the fact, if he's driving it and wants to leave, then fair enough. But I think the guy's potential is massive, mate. I think there's watching what he's done over the last couple of weeks, months. I think just like Rodgers, there's potential there to be like quality players and do stuff for us. And we have to try and keep those players. Obviously, form is temporary. That comes in and out of the thing. It's what you're doing and out of it. Like Duran might come back after his suspension and be terrible. But
I think the only way that Duran stays past this summer is if he's seen as our starting striker.
Yeah.
Because I think if he's going elsewhere, that's gonna be his demand. He's like, I want to play as almost every week.
It's not beyond the realms of possibilities. Until he got sent off, he started 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
And did well, scored in all 3.
And then it becomes a thing of, well, okay, well, Watkins, he's probably not going to want to sit on the bench, so then he's probably going to end up going. So then we've got Duran and a backup, which I'm kind of like, The thing is, I just like I love Ollie, right? And I think the thing that is always and it's always a thing where it's hard to like play them up against each other, because I think they are just totally different strikers.
To play, yes,
so you've got one who, he's played a lot more minutes. He's got 8 goals, but he's got 4 assists. And then you've got Duran, who's got 7 goals with much less minutes, but he's got 0 assists. So it's like, and that to me just tells me exactly what the two players offer. Duran offers you clinical. He will score goals, he will score goals, but he won't bring others in, those around him. Whereas Watkins, he's off form, and if he gets on form, the thing about him is that he offers goals, but also offers everything to everyone around him. Which is why last season we had like 6 goal scorers on like 5+. It was ridiculous. We had goals coming from all over the pitch, which I just don't know if Duran gives you. But if that's your striker, then you change the way you play.
Well, I mean, there's a big argument for me, mate, and I'm an old-fashioned football fan, I guess. I would love to see the pair of them play together and form a partnership.
Yeah. I'd love it.
I miss the days of playing with 2 up top.
With Rodgers out, I would have been. It would. I mean, obviously Duran isn't here. It would have been interesting. I wonder if Rodgers was out, whether he would have played Ollie on the left, but it probably would have pissed him off. So.
Well, no, but the thing is, like the great forward players, mate. If you look at any forward flowing team, or whether it be Liverpool in the recent years, or Man United of the glory years, or Man City, right, when they first started playing, it was combinations of players up front that would create stuff, right? And that is something that's died a death. Going back to the 90s, with Shearer and Sutton, Andy Cole and Dwight York, where these are what terrorise teams. It's like, if you get a good understanding with a striker, like it happened even lower league. Like my daughter on Saturday, mate, like she's been playing with this new girl just for a few months, and all of a sudden on Saturday it just clicked. mate, they terrorised this team, and we were a team that are a year above them, and just not used to it. Because even at youth level, they're playing like one up top and built like or the way it works, it's 3-5-2, but playing with like a number 10 and only having a. Do you know what I mean? It's so.
Yeah.
It just seems to be a thing of the past, and I just think it works. When it works really well, and defences really struggle to kind of cope with it. But what you have to do is, yes, you would say Ollie is further out on the left and Duran's more central, but you say to them, between you, boy, work it out. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the starting on a team sheet. But like we go and you. It's similar to what was probably said to Ollie at the start of last season. Like your work area is the 18-yard area.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And you for one of you and the other, if you're going to drop deep, then you just swap, and that's communication and working, building understanding of what's going on. And I think if they could do that, because I've been watching them play together. The reason why it doesn't work is because they don't work together. They end up being a mile apart, and so you can't interact with each other. Like, no, I don't know if that's because it's competition between the two, and they both know that ultimately Emery only plays with one up top. So it's like, well, I'm not going to. And then I'm like, well, look, it's about the team and about you as individuals, right? And so, but we're dealing with millionaire prima donnas who just care about themselves. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
Where's the love for the club? Where's the love for the badge? Do you know what I mean? Like, just sort it out amongst you.
That's not a thing.
I would no, there's no loyalty in football, mate. There hasn't been for years. I would absolutely just love to see that relationship in a two and it work, ideally, because then you keep them both. Because obviously, what could you?
Yeah, no,
3 years of great player ahead of him.
And the thing is, I think it can work, and it's also because you've the amount of times you see Duran, he wins everything in the air, he flicks the ball on, perfect to have someone running off him, and then Watkins runs the channels, and then it leaves Duran in the middle. To me, it just makes total sense. But like you said, it is probably a bit of a case on the pitch where he's like, oh well, I don't want to. Like if he's in the middle, he's going to get a better position than I am right now. It's
and if he scores, and if he's scoring goals and I don't, then do you know what I mean? I mean, ideally, you want them both scoring goals, and that's the. I don't know. That's what I'd like to see. I just don't see that happening under the way Emery plays. So I think it is competition for places, and then ultimately it comes down to who's going to go. I think one of them will end up eventually going. And talks with PSG are going on. Watkins, out of the two, I think the one that will probably leave is Duran, because he's just a cannonball and he's like a wild.
I agree. I think
if PSG go, he's 300 grand a week. He's like, bye Villa.
I think it's because he's potential as well.
Yeah,
he's not there.
Yeah,
and Watkins, yes, we know he's streaky and he has on and off form. At the moment, this is probably some of the worst form I've seen him in a while.
In 3 seasons, mate, this is the worst he's been.
Really bad. And the last time we had this kind of Watkins was when he had Ings, and there was the competition. And it's just again, like this thing again? Is it just this competition thing? He can't have competition, which just doesn't work because he's 30 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's always going to have. We're going to need a backup who actually is ready to take it to go in. So he's always going to have the competition. So. But
and Duran fits that perfectly, mate. It's whether you can keep him happy, obviously. And obviously, he's not happy because he was going to leave at the start of the season. He's kicked off a fuss about not starting, having scoring. And
maybe it is just now. If we've given Ollie half the season as our starting striker, now let's just give the second half to Duran, and it's like see who does better. And it's kind of like. If Ollie has to go, he goes as a bit of a, not a legend because he hasn't quite broken Gabby's record, but he goes as one of our top strikers ever.
Oh, 100%, mate. I'll pat him on the back and wish him thanks. He'll always have a place in my heart because he's been a workhorse for us, and I've always valued players like that. Right down to going back to Ian Taylor, not the greatest of midfielders, but gave their all on in a Villa shirt. Brilliant. I'll even, if he does go, I'll even get Watkins on one of my shirts, as a homage to him.
Okay, there we go. All right, heard it here first.
See, there you go. Right, I'm not a complete Watkins hater, right? Even though I still can't get the misses out of my head. This is the problem this season. Every week I've got a new one ingrained. I've got a memory bank of Watkins' misses, not goals, in my head.
This is what's mad about it, isn't it? He's so clinical last season.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with me is that I actually think that. It's the cliche, isn't it? Of if he wasn't getting the chances, I'd be more worried.
Yes.
Because he's getting the chances. He's obviously, his movement must be good. He's making the right decisions. He's making the right runs. He's making the right 1-2s or passes or interactions with different players, bringing other players in. It's just when he's getting the chance, he's ballooning it. And it's not like he, and like we said, it's not like he's forcing good saves. He's missing by an absolute mission. It's just like
I think it has to be a confidence thing, doesn't it? Because
if you look, it is.
Like you say, clinical last year,
confident.
and there's certain things in the last few games, the Brighton game. I mean, the Forest game when he came on, he was anonymous, but still, in the Brighton game there was, and I think it was the Crystal Palace game where. In the Crystal Palace game, Rodgers played a wonderful through ball through. He was by the penalty area, penalty spot. Sorry, should have shot. Just wanted to take another touch, recovery tackle against Brighton. He's through 1-on-1. He should strike across the goal. He takes one too many touches and ends up just hitting it straight at the keeper. And there's no confidence. And I think it was McGinn who was running. I think if you hit that across the keeper, he's probably going to save it, but he's going to save it and parry it into an area where it can be tapped in. That's all you've got to do, right? And now, like you're saying, nothing wrong with his movement off the ball, getting into the positions, but in that crucial moment, he's just panicking, and that's a confidence thing. He's, like you say, they're not even getting close to goals. He's making the wrong decisions at the crucial time, and that. Again, if it's confidence, I don't know how you build that up when ultimately you've got someone who's knocking on the door, and then when he plays scoring goals, it's got to damage you. You know what I mean? Because you don't take them, and then the other person is.
Well, that's the thing. What was it? Start of the season, that didn't start great for Ollie. Like I think it was it 5 games, 6 games or something? He had from the start of last season where he hadn't scored a lot. And I remember you guys in our WhatsApp group were like kicking off and been like, drop him, he's got to be dropped, blah blah. And I'm like, look, the only way you get a player to improve their confidence is to play them.
I agree with that.
The problem is that you've got Duran knocking on the door, who's banging in the goal. So Watkins isn't going to get the minutes. So you're in this like catch-22, and then it's like, oh, we'll play him in the cups. Okay, well we're out the League Cup. We've got the FA Cup, which is coming up. So we'll play on Friday. But are you going to start him then in Champions League, or are you going to start Duran?
But that's the nature of football, isn't it? It's a results-based industry, and as much as because we care about it so much, you talk about these guys because it's rightly so that they are human with emotions and they're going to make mistakes, but the environment that they're in is that to be the best, to be at the top, to get into where you ultimately want to get to, which should be their goal, playing Champions League football, challenging for titles, whatever that looks like, whether that be the league, cups, whatever, then in those moments you have to be clinical. And unfortunately they're not at that level, because there are teams around the world there are teams they create chances, and that 9 times out of 10 the ball's in the back of the net. It's about standards, and it's about raising them and maintaining them.
That's the thing at the moment. Whenever we're attacking, I don't feel like I'm like sitting there going, this is going to come to nothing. That's what's frustrating. I feel like at the moment when we're attacking, I don't feel like we're going to score. Whereas last season, every time we attacked, I was like, this could be it. Like, this could easily go in. And this season is even worse because every time a team's attacking us, I'm like, fucking hell, they're going to get a goal. So it's like, it's terrible. It is wild. It is mad because we talk about as if we're like, and obviously expectations are different. And like you said, the team's been marketed very differently and this kind of thing. But it is mad. The way we talk is as if we're like Man U, who are like 13th, or Spurs in 12th, or whatever at the moment. We are 8th, and we are 2 points off 6th, 3 points off Newcastle. So it's not like we're miles off, but it's more frustrating because it's more a case of what could have been. Like we'd be like, well, we should be like 3rd or 2nd, just walking it.
The thing is, ultimately, if we'd have, because we talk about progression, if we hadn't, and again, I don't think we've been convincingly beat by anyone apart from maybe Spurs in the second half, right? That was a really poor second half, but first half was very good in that we've ultimately been the makers of our own downfall, really. If we'd have kept to the standards that we had last season, we would be pushing for. People would be talking about us winning the league, and they would do, because it would be actually they've done this 2 seasons in a row. And the fact of the matter is, Champions League footballs. Yeah, well, they were, weren't they? So if we didn't have the Champions League last year, but we did have European competition. Obviously, it's slightly different, and I guess I'll put it down to we haven't replaced the quality of Douglas Luiz and DRB,
No, we
and this is the only thing I put it down to, because ultimately we're still playing the same way, same system, or just with slightly different players. And the fact of the matter is, we haven't been clinical enough, and we conceded too many goals. So something in that says, and I'm not saying that our midfield hasn't been good, but and Kamara's only just been coming back, looks like a Rolls Royce, but with Kamara and Douglas Luiz in that midfield, we didn't concede goals, mate. We just didn't. That's
no.
the only difference. And
I
so,
think
whatever your thoughts on Douglas Luiz was, he was brilliant for us. He was,
yeah.
and him and
No,
Kamara together were outstanding.
I think what we did do in the summer is we did bring in depth. So we brought in
Yes,
like
I'll agree
decent
with that.
numbers. So like with this, how are you saying, in like with the injury and suspensions that we've had recently, we would be in bare bones right now. Whereas we're like,
Yeah.
actually, we've got Anana, we've got Barkley, we've got Kamara in the midfield, we've got McGinn, but he's now out. We've got like Ramsey coming back in. We've got Rodgers when he's available. So we've actually got quite a lot of depth. But that, like you said, that's just that level of quality. Like Anana has he generally looks like he just looked awful the other day when he came on for that like 10-minute cameo. He was terrible.
Oh,
But
yeah,
he's
it's
what,
terrible.
22? 20 is he 22, 23? He's young still.
Yeah, like,
he's a physical presence that we
like,
haven't had. Like he's big, and we don't really have that in the team. So that's brought that in as well. And so I actually think that
he's
Nana will. I think next season's Anana's season.
well, if you look at it, all of these players you just mentioned, JJ, Anana, and even having Kamara back, right? They're all coming back. Like, Anana's not been fit really since we've had him. He's like, he's been on in and out of the side. So when you're coming back from injury, right? It's been. I think JJ is a quality player. We've missed him massively. And Kamara, like as good as he's been, he's not played a full game yet. He keeps coming off on like 70 minutes or 75 minutes. So if he's not fully 90 minutes match fit yet, like he still look like a Rolls Royce to me. Like we've missed him massively. So we need him. We need these players fully fit and playing to the level. They've got to get back to that level, and that's the difference. But the problem is you don't get that time. You just have to hit the ground running, and that's the harsh reality of the Premier League. It could well be that we end up, finishing. I don't know. Let's say we finished eighth, where we are now, right? 8th or 9th, having a decent run in the Champions League, maybe let's say quarterfinals, getting knocked out of that. Not a bad season, right? But then watch us without the thing of any European football and not that. I bet you next season will be a force to be reckoned with. Everyone's fit firing. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, but if we're talking about this season, it's just slightly disappointing in the fact that we're not quite where I thought we would be. And that's down to obviously all those other teams raising their levels and us just not having the consistency of the squad due to injury and being not clinical enough and conceding too many goals. There you go. That's top Sky Sports analysis.
Basic football, mate.
You pay for that shit on Sky. Pay for that. You get it for free. Yeah? You get it for free.
Brilliant. Well, anyway, I'll probably say that's it for this episode. Catching up on the Leicester game. We'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday for the West Ham preview. So we'll pop that on, where we'll talk about like
150th anniversary in our 150th first year. Makes complete sense.
We'll talk about that anyway. But thanks, guys, for listening. As always, give it a thumbs up, give it a sub, give it a comment. It all helps.
Subscribe, follow us, comment, talk to us. We want to interact with you guys. Come on.
All the usual jazz. Right. Nice one, guys. Catch you later.
Every week we follow the boys in claret and blue.